Welcome to your 4-minute lesson. Today we're going to be looking at the Open Chord Scales book. It's going to be a very exciting lesson. I'm very excited about this one because it's going to be about the E7 blues chord. It's going to be a blues chord scale lesson. So let's look at the book. This tells us the E7 chord, how to place our fingers on which strings on the diagram. And then we look at the scale diagram, which is the individual notes that live underneath the chord, like that. And then we finally come up with the chord scale. So that means that you're combining the chord with the notes that live underneath the chord. And that's why we call it a chord scale. So let's look at the chord first, the E7 chord. First finger on the first fret of the G string, second finger on the second fret of the A string. And we can strum that down to get the E7 chord. So that's called that's essentially a blues chord, E7. Now we're going to look at the scale that lives underneath the chord. And how we can play that is we start with our bass E string, open, 3rd fret, open A string, 1st fret, 2nd fret, open, 2nd fret, open, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, open, 3rd, open, 3rd. So let's go from top again, bass E string, open, 3rd, open, 1, 2, open, 2, open, 2, 3, open, 3, open, 3. So that's your blues scale. So in the blues scale, we call it blues scale because it has blues notes. So that note there and that note there. So these notes are basically called the blue notes. It makes blues sound like blues. They also call it the nota del diablo, the devil note, or the flat 5. So that makes blues sound like a blues. If you don't put the blue note in, you just are left with a minor pentatonic scale. So just still a nice scale, but doesn't have the real bluesy edge you want. Now let's look at how to put this into a chord scale. So let's put our chord back down again. So we had our first finger on the 1st fret of the G string, second finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. There's our chord. But what we can do now is if we keep that chord down, we can use our pinky to play the 3rd fret notes. Our 3rd finger can play the 2nd fret of the G string note. Our 3rd finger can play the 2nd fret of the D string. And we can also put our pinky on the 3rd fret of the E string as well. So there you go. Okay, so the first thing we do when we play a chord scale is we do a thing called the mixing bowl. So the mixing bowl, the idea is that you keep this mixing bowl, like when you make a cake, you keep the blender thing going while you're mixing the cake, and that doesn't stop. So what a mixing bowl does, it means that your hand doesn't stop strumming. It's an engine. And it means you don't have to think about your right hand, and we can just think about our left hand. So let's look at placing some of these notes. So these notes are like little chopped chips you're throwing into the mixing bowl, basically. So it goes like this. So rather than just playing E7 like this, which is the standard way of playing a chord, suddenly you're putting all these flavors from the scale. So that's called the mixing bowl technique. Later on we can learn a thing called ghost rhythms, where we do a thing like this. So ghost rhythms keep that rhythm going even if you're not. That's your 4-minute lesson. Thank you.